que ela já vai voltar, que ela já vai voltar. É só tu fazer, que ela já vai voltar. E quando acender o bolo, ela pede pra casar. E quando acender o bolo, é só tu fazer, que ela já vai voltar.
Hey guys, how you all doing? I'm Rahul, and today we're going to be having a look at configs within CSGO and how you can create the perfect one for yourself. Now the config within CS will hold pretty much all the information, all the settings you can change within the game, so like keybinds, your view model, res, sensitivity, all that cool stuff. It holds it all, and you can save and use different ones for different occasions. So you can use like one with a lower res and like different view models for when you're playing because you like it, that's how it looks when you play. But then when you want to record, say you've got your GoTV demo you want to record or your POV, you can change the config to make it look different and whatnot, and it'll be easier for you. Now if you are not like supreme or global, or you don't have like a lot of hours on the game, then it's quite likely that you haven't tried out all the different types of like combinations for your config, so you might not have found the perfect one for you. So in this video I'll just be going over all the different things you can be changing. You can try them out, see what works for you, see what doesn't work, and then you can create the perfect one for yourself, and you'll just make your whole gameplay experience that little bit better. I'll also be leaving my own config within the description just for anyone out there who wants to use it. So let's start off with the video settings. Now in the video settings, the main thing you're going to be looking at is the res quality settings, such as like shaders and whatnot. You can change, but that's really up for you to try out for yourself, see what works, see what doesn't. They're mainly to do with like changing your FPS and stuff. You can change them about to see what works for you. Now there are three types of res. You can play 4:3, 16:9, or 16:10. That's like the ratios. Now 16:9 is what like normal monitors nowadays will be playing, and this is basically anything in this category will look normal for you. You probably want to be going for the highest quality you can, so for me it's going to be 1080p. If I went higher than that, which I can on the game, it allows me to, there wouldn't be any benefit for me. 1080p is where I want to be sticking at. If I went lower, then it'll give me that FPS boost, but then the game won't look as great. I've got a decent PC, I can run the game fine at 1080p, so that's good for me. Now the other reses, you might be wondering, why would you want to be going 4:3, why 16:10? Now 4:3 I'm mainly going to be talking about, you can use what I'm going to be talking about for 16:10, but yeah, I'm just going to be talking about 4:3. So with 4:3, what will essentially happen is when you pick that res, you're going to be getting black bars on this side of your screen. Now this is because before like widescreen monitors came out, you used to have these square ones, and then you would play 4:3 on those and you wouldn't get black bars because that was the size of the monitor. Now with what happens when you do play 4:3 is your field of view kind of decreases a little bit, so everything seems a bit more closer to you. This can help with like aiming and stuff because I don't know, maybe if you've got a larger monitor, it might be hard to see people quite far away, but if you play 4:3 they'll seem closer and aiming and whatnot will be easier. A lot of pros play 4:3, so I don't know if you want to take that into account, try it out, see what works for you. Now one thing you can do when you are playing 4:3 is you can play stretch. Now what stretched is it stretches out your screen so you get no black bars, and it basically makes everything seem bigger as well because everything's stretched, so the player models are stretched, so aiming for the head will be a little bit easier because the head's bigger. Now this it works, but for me, I tried it out for like a week and stuff, and it was working in the sense that I could get headshots a little bit easier, but my spray pattern and whatnot, it just didn't work, and I'm now playing back at 69 1080p. Now I would recommend trying out 4:3 because it can work really well, especially if you like AWPing and whatnot. AWPing on 4:3 can work really well, but what happens is when you do play stretched, it like alters your horizontal and your vertical kind of sensitivity and stuff. So what you have to put in your command in your console is _your 0.165, and then this will fix the sensitivity and stuff. But still, when you look around, it will seem warped and stuff, the floor, and it's really weird. But like I said, it can help for AWPing. So it's really just what you want to be doing. Now also when you do play black bars, you will have the sides of your screens cut off. So say you're on D2 at the back of the site and you're looking like straight down the middle, so you could see window and tunnels on like 16:9. On 4:3 you won't be able to see them both, so you just have to take that into account. It won't really happen in most situations, because in most situations you don't want to be watching two angles, but in some places it will happen. But I think the positives of 4:3 outweigh the negatives. It's really just down to you trying it out, seeing what works for you, and if it does, then go for it. If it doesn't, then stick to 16:9. Next up we have the audio, and within these settings there isn't really much to talk about, because practically everyone uses the kind of same settings. You have your normal default volume up kind of high, but then everything else you want to keep low, maybe even turned off, like music and whatnot, because you don't really need to hear the music in the game. Your 10-second warning volume though, you want to keep that up, because it'll basically alert you when you have 10 seconds left of the round, and this can help when you are like in a clutch situation, whether you have enough time to defuse or not. It can just help you out with things like that. So having that 10-second warning can help you out quite a lot, but all the other things don't really give you any benefit within the game, so I would recommend turning them all the way down. Now we can go on to the HUD, which is the heads-up display, what you see on screen, all the 2D stuff. You can change all this stuff from the menus, like the size, color, how much is there, and basically just mess around, see what works for you, what you find is best. The color, it doesn't really matter, because most of the stuff on the HUD you don't really need to have like a bright green to know what's going on. I like to pick orange, because orange is like my favorite color, so it really just depends on what colors you like and what you want to try out. So just mix and match everything, see what works, see what doesn't, and go with that. Now there are a few things which aren't in the menus which you can be changing, well, a couple of things. These you can be adding through your console command. So one of them is CL_show pause space 1, and what this will do is essentially it shows you your speed. Now I've shown this command in previous videos, but it just shows your speed. It's pretty cool to have. If you're running about, you can see what speed you're running at, if you can go faster with different weapons and stuff. I still use it, even though I've been playing Counter-Strike for a fairly long time. I should know the speeds of whatnot of different weapons, but I still like to have it just to get that reassurance. The next keybind is net_graph space 1, and most of you out there probably use your net graph. Basically the main things it shows you is your FPS, your ping, and the tick rate of the server. This is just useful information to know, especially the FPS and ping, just to see what's going on. If you're getting lag, you can determine whether it's FPS or like ping lag, and yeah, that can just help out. And yeah, that's about it. The net graph will remain when you close the game, so when you open it up it'll stay there, but the show pause space 1 won't. So if you do want to keep that, then you can bind it to like a key, or you can put it in your auto exec file. Keybinds are the fourth thing we can look into changing, and with keybinds you can do a whole range of different kind of things. You can set them to throwing nades or saying something random, just pretty much anything in general. They can make your keyboard become really efficient. Now to say something random, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is type bind space the key you want to bind, space quotation marks, say space the word you want to say, then end your quotation marks. I'll have that on screen, so don't worry if what I said didn't really make any sense. But with that you can literally say anything you want. Maybe you can have like GG well played or something, so then at the end of the game you can just press a button, it'll say that, and you don't have to type it out. It's pretty cool. You can bind anything you want to say. That's pretty awesome. Moving away from those kind of fun binds, you can actually go on to maximize your keyboard's efficiency. So if you look at the keyboard, when you're playing you're using like WASD, but then the \Z, X, and C keys are down there, and you might not be using them at all. However, your fingers are able to get to them and use them pretty easily. So what I think is a pretty good idea is to bind each of those keys to the different grenade types, and then if you get used to using them, then it'll be easier to pull out the grenades like that, rather than using your scroll wheel or however else you like to pull out your grenades. Now for me, I don't do this. I still use my scroll wheel. I've gotten used to using it, and I think having binds would just take a long time to get used to using them, and there would be no point, because I'm alright with using the scroll wheel. But if you are new to the game, then maybe try out those. The binds which I do use are on my mouse. I've got two side buttons, and they both pretty much do the same thing. The top side button is bound to using mouse button 1, then Q and Q again. This just makes it so when I AWP, I can AWP and then I quick switch back to the AWP, and it just makes it really easy because it does it in the quickest time possible compared to me pressing mouse button 1 and then Q and Q. There'll be slight millisecond delays in between each of the thingies, so by having it just bound to my mouse, it makes it pretty quick and I can be really effective. If you can think of any other binds which would be really helpful like that, then leave them in the comments, or if you think they're really OP and you want them just for yourself, then you can leave them for yourself. Moving on to the crosshair and view model, these two things are really big in your config. There's so much time you can spend changing each individual little parts of these, and just like how it looks and everything comes down to personal preference. It really just matters what you want, how you want to see it. There is no real right or wrong way of going about choosing one. However, the way I like to pick them is through the crashes maps on the workshop. I'll leave the links to these maps in the description, but basically what it does, it puts you in a map, and you can just shoot different buttons and whatnot to change how your view model and crosshair look, rather than using the actual commands from your console. You can use the commands in your console, but then you'll have to learn them, or just using these maps themselves makes it really easy, as you just have to press buttons. Now let's start off with the crosshair first. The crosshair, most people prefer a static crosshair over a dynamic one. A static one is one which doesn't move when you move, and a dynamic one is one which does. There are some people that like to use a dynamic one. I know Harry, who's a kind of b-hopper kind of player who plays a lot of nuke and whatnot, he likes to use a moving one. I used to like to use a moving one, and there are other various players out there who like to use moving ones. However, the majority of players who have been playing for a fair amount of time like to use the static ones. I think the main reason for this is the fact that with a static one, it doesn't move, so it doesn't really distract you. That's like, I think, what most people say. A dynamic one, because it's moving, it could distract you, and maybe you'll miss an enemy or something. Both have their benefits, and really you should just try them out, see what works for you, just see which one is the best. However, if you think they're both the same, then go for a static one, try and get to learn to use that one. Now for the color, you probably want to go for one which isn't really on many maps, and that will give you a lot of contrast. The one which I like to use is that kind of lime green. Also, I like to have a little black outline around the crosshair. This just makes it visible in all kinds of situations, and I'm able to see what's going on and where. Now for the design, it's totally up to you. You can either just have a dot, or you can have the lines, or the lines with a dot, a square, just all different kind of designs can be made, and you just got to try it out, see what works for you. For me, what I did was I went on Dust 2, and on Long I put a bot on one side and I was on the other, and then I made the gap of my crosshair fit just so it was on his head, and then I've been using that ever since. There is no real reason for this. I mean, maybe it'll help with my headshots or whatnot, but I don't know, I just feel that it works for me, so that's what I like to use. Remember, I've left my config in the description, so if you do want to have a look, see what it's like, it will be there. Now for my view model, I have it can be chosen the exact same way, just a different map, and basically you can see on the walls different view models which are used by some of the like more well-known players out there. You can just try out different ones which you want to be using. It doesn't really matter. You can try playing it with your left hand, right hand, having it more zoomed out or whatnot. My one is a kind of like a mid one, not too mid, but a bit more centered, but it's quite it's pushed out a bit as well, so you can see more of the weapon. I just like it like that. I guess I played a lot of COD 4 Pro Mod, and in that you had it played with a high FOV, well not high, but a fairly high FOV, and it felt like quite pushed out the weapon, and then I kind of replicated that in Counter-Strike because that's what I like. But yeah, it's just really up to you what you want to be doing. You can also implement binds into this. So for example, when you press 3 to bring out your knife, you could also bind that to switch into your left hand, so it brings the knife out in the left hand. Just little things like that you can mess around with, see cool things to be doing like that. But yeah, that is about it for the view model and crosshairs. The links will be in the description for those maps I was talking about, so don't worry about that, as well as my own config if you do like the way my game looks. Now onto the final part of the main config, and arguably one of the hardest things to pick, the sense. Now normally people like to go for a lower sense rather than a higher sense, just it helps with those precise movements. However, I do know a few people that do like to play with a high sense, which are pretty good, so it just comes down to what you want to be doing. But to find a sense which will be working for you, what I think to do is start off kind of low, not too low, maybe something which you're used to from other games you've been playing, first person shooters on your PC, and just play offline against bots with it and just see what's going on. And then what you want to also try and do is find a wall somewhere that's kind of far away, and then shoot a bit at it, or find something which is unique on the wall like a poster, and put your crosshair on it, then move to the side and whatnot, and try and keep your crosshair like locked on it, as if you've got a sort of aimbot or something, so you're locked on it, and then this will help you getting used to your sensitivity or whatnot, and yeah, you're basically trying to track it. Now when you are trying to track it, if you're finding that you're like under aiming or over aiming, you can do different things to change your aim. Now if you want to make your aim higher, what I like to do is play with a really high sensitivity, so maxing it up to, I don't know, like 20 or something, playing around, like playing for a bit like that, maybe half a game offline with bots, and then I like to switch it down, make it low, but not lower than my original sensitivity which I was using. I make it a bit higher than that, and then I'll be used to that sensitivity, and I can get used to going around with that, and hopefully build up my muscle memory with it. And vice versa, if you want to go lower, then go really low and then go up a little bit, and you can try and find the right sensitivity for you. Now mouse acceleration is something which is also an option within the sensitivity and whatnot, and it's something which I actually do play with. Whenever I tell people this, they are kind of surprised, because most people tell you to not play with mouse acceleration, but it's something which I've just been playing with and I've gotten used to. I mean, it works for me. If I don't play with it, I just can't aim. I don't really know what it does, to be honest, but it just works for me. So maybe try it out, try different values for it, see if it works or see if it doesn't work. It probably won't work to start off with, because if you're used to not using it, it just won't work. But I don't know, maybe there's like a few of you out there who turn it on and suddenly become an uber pro. So just try it out, and I'm not giving you any true facts that it should work, but for me at least it does. Now that is about it for the config, and we can move on to actually getting used to the config. Now to get used to it, the maps I like to play around with are Recoil Master and Aim Bots. Recoil Master is for when I've got a new res or new sense, and this is basically just to get my recoil back on track. I can learn the muscle memory that I need to learn, or I can learn what the muscle memory is for the recoil pattern of the, say, AK, that's like the main weapon I'm using, or the M4, but the M4's recoil isn't too hard to master, so yeah, I'll probably go with the AK, and then I'll just practice quite a few sprays with that until I kind of understand what I'm doing. Then I'll spray against different walls or whatnot with impacts on, so I can see how my spread is, and then after that I'll go on to aim bots to get my accuracy good, and just aim for the heads, try and get one tap headshots, and just carry on like that, and see what is working out. DMing as well is always good. The Valve servers are nice, or you can go on your community servers if you don't like the Valve ones. However, Valve ones are fine. I like to use them. I don't really see what people don't like to use them. And yeah, you can just find out what you play best with, and then it'll probably take a week and a bit, or maybe even longer, to get used to the config, but hopefully it should improve your whole performance overall. Now the thing is, you might find that some, like for me personally, I tried to play on a 4x3 res, and I played for it for a week, and the thing which was working for me was I was able to aim for the head, get headshots really easily, and I thought it was improving my gameplay, but what was happening was, with my spray, it was just completely failing and I couldn't spray. However, like getting headshots at really long range was easy because I could see the heads, they were bigger and whatnot. Now if this is the case and you find that your performance in game is dropping and you're just like getting hardly any kills, you're not helping your team out at all, you might want to reconsider the change. I mean, if it's just not working, it might be the case that it will never work, and you should just go back to what you're used to. So I've gone back to 1080p, the 16:9, and I am playing pretty well, and I'm back on track, and I'm actually LEM now, so I managed to rank up. But before then, when I was playing 4x3, I was stuck at LE for like a really long time, so I'm glad I went back to 16:9. I guess 4x3 was just not for me. But yeah, just leave in the comments what your config's like, how you found the different things, what you've got for your different parts. Maybe even leave your whole config in the description, and not in the description, in the comments, and other people can find out what you use, see if it works for them, and hopefully they can get the best config for themselves. But that is about it for this video on configs. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. I've been Rahul, and I'll catch you on the next one.